Hey guys, so I was made aware of this video yesterday. It is called I've Been Spiritually Abused. It is by Noah DeBolt. He is Jeremy Riddle's former drummer. So this video of him drumming has 51,000 views. This one of him drumming is 33,000 views. This one is 243,000 views, 233,000 views, 68,000 views, 121,000 views. So he's been on some pretty major projects if he's getting that kind of a click through and people wanting to see his stuff. So I would assume having that number of views, having this pedigree, this musical resume that he's got, that he's probably in a pretty good position to be speaking on what he's speaking about. So let's take a listen and see what he's got to say.
This is Noah DeBolt. The reason you guys haven't heard from me in over a year is because I have been spiritually abused by Jeremy and Katie Riddle and Alan and Catherine Scott. I went from being a full-time professional drummer to being deeply traumatized, depressed, barely able to eat or sleep or go outside or take a shower. Just like basic human stuff. If you aren't aware of what spiritual abuse is, it's a form of psychological and emotional abuse, usually characterized by manipulation, forced conformity, obedience to abusive leaders who have a divine role. Sadly, my story is not unique at all. There are dozens of other victims, including my wife, who have been violated and abused by these leaders who do so in the name of God. Some of the victims, including my wife and I, recently went on the record with a reporter from the Roy's Report, and I'll leave a link to that article in the bio and also in the description of this video. But that tells the broader story here. I don't think my story is going to actually make it into the article. The article has much more to do with Alan Scott, who's the senior pastor, and how he created systems of abuse, whereas my story has much more to do with Jeremy Riddle and how he supported and perpetuated and implemented this abuse. Now you may be wondering, why am I going public with this? Why not just, do the Matthew 18 thing where if your brother sins against you, you go to him in private? Well, that verse is talking about two people with power equal to each other, whereas Jeremy Riddle is a world-famous, renowned worship leader who has hundreds of thousands of followers and fans. He's somebody that I looked up to growing up, and he was also my pastor. He was in a position of leadership over me. Because of all these things, I inherently trusted him. But what happened? Let's talk about what happened. Jeremy is all about building this culture at the church. He wants this culture of revival, right? He wants everybody to look like him, think like him, talk like him, pray like him, you name it. And if you do those things, you belong. And if you don't, they systematically tear you down, make you feel powerless and identityless so that they can build you back up in their own image. Or, they would say build you back up with their culture inside of you. So why would I even let anyone do this to me? One, remember the power dynamic that exists between Jeremy and I. I inherently trusted him because he's this world-famous worship leader who I looked up to, and I'm his drummer. But also, I, like most Christians, have a desire to please God. But in the hands of an abusive leader, that desire gets manipulated for their own gain. So let me tell you one story here. Again, I have hours of stories I could tell, and I might at some point. My wife also has hours of stories to tell that will make your skin crawl. And other victims also have stories to tell that are sickening. One day, my wife and I are having lunch with Jeremy and Katie Riddle, which was rare, and Jeremy asked me what's my vision for DeBolt drumming. And I tell him, man, I'm really passionate about loving and caring for the church drumming community, right? I'm in the DMs, I'm helping this guy with a snare drum tone, I'm over here helping this guy overcome pornography. I'm like loving on these people. Jeremy hears all this and is just like silent for a moment, and then he says, maybe maybe you should think more about being a Levite in the house of God. 1, what does that even mean? 2, how am I not doing this? How is my Instagram not the house of God? And 3, this is Jeremy making me feel as if, if I really want to please God, this is what I should be doing instead, right? He's trying to tear me down so that he can build me back up with his own beliefs, his own culture, right? Because ultimately, that's what this is. What I was doing at Bolt Drumming was against the culture that he was building at the church, which is weird to think, like, that me loving people is against what you want to do at church. And the craziest part is we've actually obtained an audio recording of a pastoral meeting a couple months after this lunch where Jeremy tells the whole pastoral staff how the reason we didn't work out at the church was because all I wanted to do was love and care for people. Is that crazy? Oh man. We started to have questions. And the moment that we started having questions, not even about, like an abusive culture or anything, just like questions about Alan Scott's sermons and things. And the moment we started asking questions was when everything went sideways. And all of a sudden, we had Katie Riddle telling us that Alan is a prophet who hears from God, and he shall not be questioned, right? Just like these crazy things. And it was like, they kind of pushed us out, right? We are asking questions not to leave or anything. We didn't even know that this culture was abusive or that we were being torn down or any of that. We just thought, man, something's not fitting right here. And the moment that we started talking about it, they basically slowly pushed us out. One of the saddest parts of this is that in our process of leaving, we were thanking them for all of this stuff that they did to us. That's how bent and twisted we had become. That's the mind games that they played on us, where we were thanking them for the abuse that they were doing to us. Oh man. And then Jeremy gave me a last word before we left. And he literally told me that because I'm not going to be under his spiritual authority anymore, that everything that I do with Bolt Drumming is going to fail. Well, Jeremy, if you're listening to this, look around. Revival is in the air, right? It's right in front of you. There are dozens of bodies bleeding out in front of you because of your abusive leadership. You've placed millstones around our necks. So do something about it. Own it. Own what you've done. Own the fact that you've abused us in the name of God. I mean, we're having to rub 2 pennies together just to pay for therapy while you're sitting in a nice gated community, driving your Tesla around, building the culture, right? And I know that when you've gotten bad PR in the past, you usually make a Instagram post with some meaningless words where, you don't take accountability. And you turn off the comments too. Don't do that. Don't do that this time. Thank you everybody for making it this far. I appreciate you guys. I know this is a heavy thing to share on the internet. Please go read the article that's linked in my bio or the description of this video. Share it with others and help us keep these abusive leaders accountable.